This is really heavy. Hi everyone. It is time for my Everything I Knit in 2025 video, so just putting it down here. Just a little disclaimer, we are traveling. So today is Friday and we are going on a big trip on Monday, and I don't have a lot of time to edit, so this will be minimal editing. So normally I would kind of include pictures of like the pattern photos and everything, but this time around I will only include pictures of like things I don't have with me, basically. So the little pile that you saw right now, it wasn't everything that in it, just everything that I have on hand. And I generally do quite a bit of gift knitting. I tend to do more projects, like gift knitting projects, than projects for myself, but that's also due because I mostly knit like small accessories as gift knits, and I do bigger projects for myself, so it kind of figures, right? I will try to link everything in the description box below. I'm not sure, since like the links are quite long and the description box is kind of limited as to how much you can put into it. So not sure if I will be able to link everything, but I will try anyways. I will link to my Ravelry projects just so you can see it, like my project right away. But all of the projects that have a pattern are linked in the Ravelry project as well, so you can basically just navigate to the pattern itself. I will be doing this more or less chronologically, and I will start with January. So the very first project that I finished in 2025 was a pair of mittens, my first pair of mittens, and these are the flower knot mittens by Laura Muratz, I think. And they just have this really cute cable design on the back of the hand, which kind of resembles a flower. These were very practical for winter, especially right now. We are having the craziest winter this year. We have snow, which is staying for longer than a week. That's unheard of in Hamburg, at least. No, but it's been quite some time since it's quite a few years since it snowed, and the snow stayed longer than a few days. So I am excited, but otherwise, like all of our like public transit and everything is struggling a lot. So we do kind of experience a snowstorm right now, just a small one, but yeah, we have like warnings and everything going on. So it's quite crazy out there right now, but it is very beautiful. So these mittens are just knit. So you have it's a charted pattern. I'm not sure if I can't remember if it includes written instructions as well, but I prefer charted instructions anyway. So because this is like a really simple pattern, I just looked at it a few times and then I was set. You basically knit the back of the mitten with the like cable motif the whole way through, and on the back you do a twisted or half twisted rib for the cuff, and then you just switch to stockinette and you kind of do these flat kind of mittens where you just increase on the side and create the thumb gusset. And it's not a perfect fit, right? So, but I really don't mind it for like mittens. I do not care about the fit that much. They are keeping me warm, and that's what's important. I also finished my first and biggest gift knit of 2025 in January, and this is the How to West by Knits by Summer, which I knit for my boyfriend. I actually kind of forgot how much of a struggle this was until recently, and then I remembered a lot of things. It wasn't due to the pattern or anything, it was just mistakes I made along the way. So I cast this on to knit on the flight to and back from Japan last year when we visited in November. And I did like most of the back portion on the flight to and back. And then just after like doing all the increases, I realized I kind of forgot to do the part without the shaping, so I skipped this whole part in the back. And yeah, I basically had to restart everything. And I really wanted to finish this by his birthday, which was like January 17th. But I finished it 10 days later, so I think that counts. This wasn't his like main birthday project or anything, so I was fine with it being longer. So then taking longer. So the next problem which I had is he was kind of indecisive with the length. I asked him a few times how long they wanted, and he was a little undecisive. So I think I can't remember how much I had to reknit, but I basically finished the vest, did the ribbing and the bind off, and once he tried it on, I basically immediately realized that it was too short. So I was very frustrated that evening. I put it aside for a few days and then just bit the apple. Is that the saying? Not sure. And just unraveled everything and reknit. I think maybe like 3 to 5 cable motifs. I can't remember from the top of my head, but it wasn't just a small bit. It was like a good 5 centimeters. Then everything seemed to I finished it pretty quickly after that, so I didn't struggle with anything else knitting wise. But when it came to the buttons, I think I reattached those buttons like 3 or 4 times. They came loose all the time. The first time I put them on using the yarn, and it broke basically immediately, and then I just used the wrong kind of thread. It was like a silky thread that didn't hold the knot, so the knot came undone and the buttons came undone, and so I basically reattached those 3 or 4 times, and I was so annoyed with it that you will see later I knit a vest for myself in which I finished in September, and I still wasn't over the button dilemma with this one, so I asked my mom to attach the buttons for my vest. So it took me some time to get over it. Otherwise, I think this is like my most professional looking garment I knit to date. I love how it looks. I think everything just looks so clean. I did tubular bind off on all of the edges, and yeah, you can put it on. Obviously my torso is way shorter, and I really don't like how this vest looks on me, but it looks very nice on my boyfriend, which is the important part, and he wears it almost every day. We have our office on the on the attic. Basically we did our attic remodeled our attic to become our office, and it gets very cold there in the winter, so he wears this when he's working from home. He wears this to work a lot in the winter months, and I am so happy that my goal with this was basically to finish it before the last winter ended, so he could still get some wear out of it, and he did, and it looks really good on him. I think the sizing is perfect for him. But I'm very happy with how this turned out. Oh, and for the yarn, this is knit in Drops Lima, and I think the colorway was Almond or something like that. And these buttons we purchased in Japan, kind of like a little souvenir button. And these were basically all they had left. So they had exactly 5 buttons left, and we bought all of them. So it worked out perfectly. And just the mittens beforehand were knit in a sock yarn by Rico Design. I can't exactly remember, but it will be in my project notes anyways. So this is what I finished in January. And then for February, I only have one finished object, which I don't have with me anymore. I knit my grandma pair of mittens, which are now in Siberia. I had a lot of drops lima and silk mohair left over from that project, so I decided to use those together to make a very warm pair of mittens. And I used the pattern by Pro Soho, so the arch gusset mittens. I basically knit those in stockinette the whole way through, but quickly realized that like the hand portion was a little too short, so I just picked up stitches here again and knit some ribbing just to make them longer and make them stay on the hand a little more. I think I finished 4 projects in March, but I only have 2 with me right now, so I will start with the other 2 first. I knit a baby sweater for my cousin's baby. This was like the cousin who I grew up with the closest. And he became a first-time dad, so I really wanted to knit something for the baby, and I made this little, just a little baby sweater from a, was it a booklet? No, I have this little Rico design booklet for babies, and I just basically based it on one of the sweaters there, but I incorporated some stripes because I wasn't sure if I would have enough of like the beige yarn. In the end, I think the baby never wore the sweater just because I think I made the ribbing too tight. So the hole for the head was wide enough, but the ribbing was a little too tight. And I told them that I can fix it if they want, but since we only see each other like 2 times a year basically, so I never got around to kind of finish it, and I think the baby sweater was never worn, which is a shame, but nothing can do about. And speaking of the mittens I knit for my grandma, I also really wanted to knit a cardigan for my grandma, just because she wears those a lot, like at home. But I really didn't want. I was really like not. I really didn't want to do a lot of like back and forth stockinette, and my mom also knits, so we kind of did a collaboration project, and we collaborated on the cardigan for my grandma. So I basically knit the yoke, the whole yoke, and then my mom did all the stockinette because that's her favorite part and that's my least favorite part. So it kind of made sense to do it that way. I kind of looked at the gauge. My mom had to go down a needle size because I'm a very tight knitter, and then she did all of the finishing, like all of the finishings, but I did the tubular bind off on all of them. So it was truly a collaboration project. I will insert a picture of my grandma wearing it. It turned out very nice, I think. And it turned out very good. You can't really tell like where we switched the knitting. So yeah, it hit as well. Then for the last 2 remaining objects I finished in March is my very first crochet project. I learned how to crochet last year basically, and I wanted to have like bandana for the longest time, and I just found this pattern on Ravelry. It's a free pattern, and it was kind of the perfect thing because I had this random skein of 100% silk yarn that I bought on sale once, with the plan to make a headband out of it. So I decided I will crochet it, especially because like this is quite a variegated yarn, and I prefer variegated yarn and crochet rather than knitting. So yeah, I made this really basic granny stitch bandana headscarf thing with like ties at the end. And my mom jokes that this is my most worn piece, just because I wear it every day at home when I have like a bad hair day. And I worked in a cafe for 2 months as well, and whenever I just wanted to have like my hair out of my face, I wore this all the time. I also really like the color with my hair. So yeah, got a lot of wear out of this, and I still have like a little. So I only used a little more than half a ball, I think. So I still have a little bit of this yarn left, and I was thinking about making some scrunchies with it or something. So yeah, that's that. And then, like my magnum opus basically of last year was also finished in March. This is the Fresno Sweater Chunky by Knitonomy or Magdalena Parker. This was my very first test knit and also my only test knit until now. And yeah, I knit this out of Drops Knit Pal. And this kind of really stopped my knitting mojo for some time. Not because of the pattern. The pattern was very nice, like for a test knit. I had a really great experience with the test knit and everything. Like everything on my part was like very like hard, or I don't know. So the first issue was I was planning on using a completely different yarn for this, which I had in stash, but that wasn't near like thick enough, so I kind of tried to get gauge with it for quite some time, and then I just realized I couldn't meet gauge just because it wasn't thick enough. So then I had to order this yarn, and it arrived like a week later, more or less. So I kind of already lost 2 weeks of the knitting time on this, and this is like a very like cabled sweater, so it takes some time. I also realized with this project I'm a very tight knitter, so especially with the cables, my hands started to hurt with this quite a bit. But at the same time, I really wanted to finish this before the deadline, so I really powered through. And like, it wasn't a good project for my hands, basically. And I'm not sure if like there was an issue with the calculations for the yarn estimate, or if kind of my gauge and my yarn choice made the biggest impact. But in the end, I ended up needing like 5 or 6 more balls of this yarn. So when I was almost finished, no, I realized quite early that I will need more yarn, so I had to reorder another like 5 or 6 balls. And in the end, I love the sweater. I wore it a ton, even though I finished it to the end of March. I wore it like my outer layer for basically like the whole spring as well, so it doesn't get like very hot in spring here. And I love the sweater, but it killed my knitting mojo a little bit, to be honest. It is kind of a size too big for me right now, but I think this kind of oversized sweater doesn't do any harm when it's a size up. So yeah, really like how this turns out, and I love to wear this with like skirts and black tights. So kind of this oversized sweatshirt with mini skirt look. I like it a lot. Right after that, as I said, my knitting mojo kind of slowed down a little bit, and I didn't really cast on any new things. I had a pair of socks started from 2024, and that was the only project I finished in 2025. And these were fingering weight 100% cotton socks, which I did once already, and I hated doing it. And I also hated doing this time around, but I really wanted like hand knit socks I can wear in spring and summer. And my feet get very warm very easily, so I couldn't use any like wool yarn, so I just powered through with the cotton yarn. And because I didn't do all of it at once, I did like half in 2024 and half of it in 2025. It was okay, and it turned out to be one of my favorite pairs of socks. I made these white 3x1 broken rib stitch socks with like a little ruffle on top. And I love them, but they're currently in the wash, so I can't show them to you. I wear them with my like Doc Martens Mary Janes, so they are a little discolored and everything already, but I will insert a picture. Then in May, I finished a couple of objects, but this was like the last month where I have a few projects to show before we go back into fall. I will talk about it a little bit later, but the first thing that I finished was this scarf. So this is the, sorry for butchering the names, Sorgenfree Türke, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. You have to kind of sign up for the newsletter to get the free pattern, and I love this thing. We went to a farm close by here, somewhere in like March or April, and they were selling 100% alpaca yarn. So I bought 2 skeins of it for this particular project, because I had this particular scarf saved for so long, just because I really love this texture of like ribbing and garter stitch. And we went to Portugal in the end of April last year. Yeah, this was like the only project I brought with me. And this yarn, it's really hard to describe, but this yarn feels buttery. Like, it feels like it's melting in your hands when you touch it. It is so soft. I had a little tiny issue with that being so soft and like silky when I joined the yarn the first time, because this is made out of 2 skeins. I kind of knit a few rows after that, and then I saw that the knot came undone, so I had to like rip back the few rows and just reattach it differently. I don't remember how I reattached it in the end. And yeah, I love this thing. The only thing I wish it would be a tiny little bit longer, but that's all the yarn that I had. Like, I wouldn't have had enough to like add another repeat, and I really wanted to finish on a rib repeat. So yeah, that's what I got done. But I like to wear it like this. This is like basically how I wear it most of the days. And I don't really have a scarf right now, because my only store-bought scarf felted in the wash. So this was for the longest time my only scarf, and I wore it a ton. So the 2 bandanas that I did basically this year are my 2 most worn objects. And yeah, because I really wished to wear it like this, but for this to be a kind of a secure knot, it just strangles me a little bit. So this is the way I would love to wear this, but as I said, normally I just wear it the other way around. But I love this. So soft. Then I did my second crochet project. I made a little strawberry plushie. I just had like this little kit which a friend of mine gifted me, and yeah, I just had this little strawberry. I call him Stanley the strawberry. I actually don't know who he is. I put a ring on him, like a clasp, to use him as a back charm, but this came undone one day and I put it aside to repair it, but I never did, so I can't remember where I put him, but he turned out so cute. I will insert a picture as well. I also, for miscellaneous things, I also finished my 3rd Ribka pouch in May. The 3rd one was for my boyfriend, actually, for his earphones. Yeah, I think it turned out very cute. I also finished a garment in May, and this is my 2nd blouse number 1 by my favorite things knitwear. I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell, but this yarn has a little bit of it's a little glittery, basically. I have this yarn from a factory here in Hamburg, Hamburger Wollfabrik, which just sells kind of cone yarns, and this was like a mixed cone they did, and I really liked the color, so I bought it. In the end, I wasn't happy with how this turned out, but at the same time I got a ton of wear out of this. So my intention with this was to have a little more of an elevated piece, but which is still kind of casual enough. So I wanted this to be like my go-to when I go to a birthday, for example, or just kind of whatever event is happening. So I don't like to overdress when we are just visiting friends or something, but I want to kind of dress up a little bit for the occasion. This was my intention with this, because this yarn kind of has this little glittery effect. But in the end, I did a gauge swatch for this. And I don't know what happened, but this turned out huge. I will put this on. You can see, like, the armholes are so far down, and I think I even maybe omitted a few increases because I already saw that it was getting huge. And because of that, like, the sleeve turned out way looser than it should, and yeah, in the end it didn't become the, like, kind of elevated basic that I hoped it would be. It just became a very casual sweater for me, which is also fine. I wore this a ton to, like, for example, we go to board game weekends, like a few times a year, maybe like 2-3 times, and this is the sweater I bring. But it's really lightweight and it weighs basically nothing, and it's very comfortable to just throw on and off. So this is a very practical thing for me, but not, like, visually not what I hoped for this to be. So then summer came, and I basically didn't finish any projects in summer. Or rather, I did finish a few of them, but I will put them in the miscellaneous category later on. And the biggest reason for that is I just did have 2 major flops in summer. I started 2 summer garments this year. I thought this will be my summer garment knitting year, and it was the exact opposite. Sorry, I have some fluff on my nose. So I started the Toaster Tea by Rebecca Clow, and I really loved how it was turning out. I was almost finished with the yoke, but I used some kind of bamboo yarn. I'm not sure if it's 100% bamboo or a mix, and it was so slippery. So when I was finished with the yoke, more or less, I realized that the very first knot came undone. And so I will have, like, I didn't have the mental, like, strength to frog it yet, but I will eventually need to frog it and find another way to join yarns, to join skeins. So I will probably just keep the collar as it is and then kind of put a lifeline in and then unravel everything and restart it, because I really was so excited to have this piece. Like, the color of the yarn looked so good and everything. I just really loved how it was turning out, so I was extra sad that it didn't, like, that I couldn't finish it. So yeah, that's the first summer project I'm doing this year. And the second summer project, which was like a total, like, fail from my side. I started the sabai top. I have this, like, silk linen mix yarn, also from the factory I was talking about. And since I started the Toaster Tea earlier than the sabai top, and the Toaster Tea does have optional bust shaping, which I really wanted to include, I kind of figured, why not do some bust shaping in the sabai top as well? Which is theoretically a good idea, right? Since I do have a little larger, like a larger bust, I wanted it to be, like, to just basically have a little more of a defined waist. What I didn't think about is I already kind of took the measurements of my bust to figure out which size to knit in the sabai top, and then included bust shaping, so I did extra increases for the bust. So yeah, basically it was way too big. I should have gone down a size and then included bust shaping to go up to the size I need for my bust, but I kind of had, like, a brain fart moment, I think, and yeah, so I basically made a size made it a size or even like too big. And in the end, I'm not too mad about it, because at some point I also realized that I made a mistake with the like ribbing trim around the armhole. So I kind of skipped a stitch or something, so one side was wider than the other, and it was in the front, so it was bothering me already. So I will just have to reknit this one as well this summer. But I'm looking forward to it actually, so not a big deal. It was a big deal in summer, don't get me wrong. Like having two failed garments back to back was not that nice. And it kind of also killed my knitting mojo. So 2025 was a year of killed knitting mojo, but I found my spark back, so no worries there. So then September came around, and I was determined to keep all the negative knitting emotions back in like spring and summer. And I was ready to straight on go into fall knitting. I was very excited about fall knitting this year. But I had a few projects still lingering that needed to be finished, like long-term projects. I think I had like 3 projects lying around, which the shortest one, like the most recent one, was cast on in May. And the longest one was like a year in progress already, and I really wanted to finish it. No, it was over a year in progress actually. So I really wanted to finish my whips before casting in on anything new. Spoiler alert, the one I cast on in May, I only finished in December. But yeah, it kind of slowed me down a little bit. I will just get into it. So the project that I cast that was like my longest whip is this vest. And the sad thing about it, it was basically like almost finished the whole entire time. The only thing, it was the same issue as with my first vest, is I bound off way too early, and I realized I need to kind of add another 3 centimeters. And I didn't want to elongate the ribbing. I really wanted to elongate like the main pattern. So I had to rib back and add another like 3 or 4 repeats of the chart before doing that. And this is knit on 3.5 millimeter needles on like basically sport weight yarn. And I just really dreaded it, to be honest. And in the end, it took me like under a week to do, so I should have done it. So the other thing was, I don't know if I just miscalculated or if the kind of my calculations were off, or whatever it was, but the back panel turned out way too wide, or basically the back neck turned out too wide. I really wanted, I will put this on, I really wanted this vest to be kind of wearable without anything underneath as well. So I really wanted the shoulders to sit here. I don't like when, on me, I really don't like when vests go over, like create this little shoulder cap. So I really wanted it to sit like this, but it was sitting more like this basically. In the end, when picking up the stitches for the button band, I skipped quite a few stitches in the back just to kind of hopefully cinch it in a little bit. It worked out. I have a tiny little, I'm not sure if you'll be able to tell, I have a little space where it kind of bunches up because of that, but it's the back, I don't see it. It's fine. But yeah, so I elongated the vest and just picked up I also wasn't sure what kind of button band to do. That's the other thing that held me up. So I started a double knit button band, but I really didn't like how it turned out, especially since I have this like stockinette column right at the edge. When I did the double knit button band, it looked as if it was like 3 stitches wider because of this, and the buttons looked very off center because of that. So I just decided to frog it. Even though I really wanted to do a double knit button band, I just decided to frog it and to try a 1x1 ribbed button band, and that was also the first time doing a 1x1 knit button band. And actually I think I prefer it this way. Yeah. So I do have a couple of fit issues with this, like the armhole turns out a little deeper than I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be bra friendly, to be kind of also wearable as a top. I hope the wind outside isn't too noisy for you. I also wanted the V to end up higher so I could wear it with nothing underneath, basically. So I really want to knit a second version of this. And wanted to do this anyway. I really wanted to do a second version of this without buttons, just like a slip over. So sometime, but I think probably more closer to the end of the year or even next year, I probably will do a second iteration of this one. And then the other project I finished in September was a pair of socks for my boyfriend. These are the Hermione socks, which is a free pattern on, no, Hermione Everyday socks on, a free pattern on Ravelry. And I just chose, so this was the first time working with hand-dyed yarn or hand-dyed sock yarn for me. We bought this at a, craft artist shop back at his parents, where he grew up. So there's this shop that kind of only opens seasonally, and they sell stuff from local artists, and in winter they always have an artist who kind of hand-dyed, sells hand-dyed yarn. I actually the label, it's really small, it's nothing you can really look up, it's not a brand or anything, so the the band around it didn't have any branding at all, not even a name of the dyer, so I don't really know what her name is. But I went back this year specifically to buy another skein of hand-dyed sock yarn, and yeah, I did quite a short cuff just because he prefers shorter socks. But I think it would the perfect length would be to add 1 or 2 pattern repeats, since he does say they are a tiny bit shorter than would be ideal. This is this was the first time doing a German twisted cast on for socks, just because I hoped it would be more stretchy, but I think I just cast on so tightly that even the stretchy bind off isn't stretchy enough. So for the newest pair of socks, which I did, I knit my socks on 2.25mm needles, but I do the cast on 3mm needles, and it's still not loose, so I don't know. I am a very tight knitter, but binding off and casting on is a whole different story. It's three needle sizes too tight. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. In October, I finished 2 small accessories. I did a little... Oh, so it was a lie with my only test knit this year. I did another test knit, actually. I just didn't realize I did one just because it took me a day to finish. I tested this Celanova hand warmers, I think it's called, by May Burns. She released this set of Celanova hand warmers, which are just basically hand warmers with a little ruffle on top. They kind of look like tulips. And yeah, I applied. It was just a little story application, and she responded. And then I had a few days I was struggling a few days to meet gauge, just because I think she recommends a 4mm needle or 4.5, and I had to go up to a 6 or 5.5 to meet gauge. So I was very struggling to meet gauge. But in the end, when I met gauge, I finished them in a day, and I really liked how they turned out. The only thing is, I thought the ribbing was a little tight. My wrists are narrow, but once I get into the underarm, it gets a little wider here, and right at this point it was a little too snug for my liking. And also I do have like fingerless mittens and I find them more practical, so I didn't wear them at all, so I gifted them to a friend when I saw her in December, and she really liked those, so I'm happy to have gifted them. And the other project that I finished in in October were these socks. These are just self-drafted 2x2 socks, which I knit out of Drops Nord. I had this yarn lying around for quite some time and I really wanted this basic pair of socks. I hope you can still see. I know it's winter, it's getting dark. I'm sorry, we are almost done. And yeah, I just really wanted basic 2x2 knit rib socks, and this was the first time doing I think it's a variation of a strong heel. So you don't do any knitting flat, you just increase and decrease for the heel. And I have to say, I think this is my favorite heel construction. Granted, I only tried 2, so I only did the heel flap and gusset and this one. But I do have quite a high instep and it works fine. Also, these are this is a very soft yarn. This has some alpaca in it. And yeah, it was just really enjoyable to knit. I don't like doing the back and forth, and then especially I don't like doing the picking up the stitches and decreasing. So I really liked doing this kind of construction, and I think I will continue to do this construction because I find I don't knit as many socks as I would like, just because I don't like knitting the heel. I had the goal to finish 4 pair of socks this year, and that's why I kind of impulsively cast these on, but in the end I only knit 3 pairs because I had other plans that were interfering, and I knit 4 pairs of mittens, so I think I can count it as at least a pair of socks, right? So the socks I showed you, the Hermione everyday socks I knit for my boyfriend, this kind of spiraled me into I also had a few gifts lying around for him, so I decided to do an advent calendar for him and include a few handmade items. And I knew since I finished the vest, I knew I wanted to knit him a pair of mittens, or basically since knitting my mittens, because he used mine all the time. So I also did have quite a bit of yarn left over from his Haru vest, so I basically knit him a pair of Haru mittens. This is these are basically self-drafted, or I kind of did the same thing I did with my flower knot mittens, so I also did the same shaping for the thumb. I just switched the half twisted ribbing to normal ribbing, and I also kind of did the cable design from the vest I knit him. So these match with his vest perfectly. It's the same yarn, it's the same pattern, so yeah. He wore them a couple times already, very happy about this. And yeah, I finished the second project in November, and this kind of brings me into the last part of the year, which I also am currently editing a vlog for. As I said, we are going on a big trip this Monday, and I did have a ton, I had 6 or 7 works in progress. So I had 6 or 7 works in progress, and my sweet spot is having 2 to 3. And I really wanted to get most of them finished before going on the trip. So I kind of am doing a finish my projects before the big trip kind of vlog, so not sure which one. I think it will come out after this. So the second project I finished in November was part of this vlog. So it is the light as a feather decay head pattern, and I knit this for a friend of mine. I kind of I really wanted to knit him something for the longest time, just because we are friends since school, and I knit a few things for a couple of friends. I just wasn't sure what he would want. I kind of wasn't sure if he wears hats, which is kind of so silly because he wears a ton of hats in like winter. I don't know why I wasn't sure about that. So I asked him, "What do you want? What do you want to like?" One time we went to the gym together, so I asked him, "Would you want a knit hat?" And he said, "Yes, of course." So I decided to knit him a hat, and I really wanted him to wear this to be able to wear like in winter as well. I cast it on kind of spontaneously, and yeah, I think it turned out great. I'm not sure if I'll be able to insert a proper picture. And then in December, I was really on a roll. Like in the beginning of December, I finally finished my zip up sweater, which is self drafted as well. It is a 1x1 broken rib stitch raglan sweater, and this was kind of, I cast this on in May, and it was a slog. It really was. I think it is 100% cotton. It is like leftover yarn from my first blouse number 1, and I talked about it in a different video from like 2024, but I hated working with this yarn because the cone yarn at the store mostly isn't like plied together. It's just single plies, and then you knit it, and it's so splitty. Like with merino and everything, it's totally fine, but this is like 100% cotton, and it was so splitty. So I had to pay attention a lot more than I normally would have. And yeah, but I really like how this turned out, like the shape and everything. I also bought this 2-way zipper for it. And then when I was knitting this, I kind of had an issue finding like the perfect length and the zipper and everything. I installed the zipper before doing the collar because I wasn't sure if I would even add a collar. But in the end it just sat way too wide, so I really wanted to add a collar, but since I already installed the zipper, it kind of started right here, and the collar started like here, and there was this very weird gap in between. I talk about it more in the vlog, but in the end I just decided to do a short row collar, and I really like how this turned out. And like my intention with this project was just to, first off, I wanted to use up the yarn, which I basically did. I have just a tiny bit left over. And the other thing is I really wanted like this throw-on kind of thing for spring and summer, because it does get a little, like, it does get chilly in the evenings in summer, so I really like to have something to throw on, and I don't have like a store-bought zipper sweater or anything, so I just really wanted something very useful, not something very pretty. But I really love the shape. I knit this on 4mm needles, and then I just switched to 3mm needles for the, I think it was 3, for the last kind of like maybe 5 or 8 rows before doing the bind off. Since this is like 1x1 broken rib stitch, I kind of figured it wouldn't roll. And I really like the finishing because especially on the sleeves it does kind of taper in just a tiny bit because I went down in needle size, but I don't have like distinct like ribbing sections or anything. So I really like how this turned out. And yeah, but because I had to do a lot of figuring out, basically it took me way longer than it needed to. But in the end, I'm very happy with it. I also wear it a ton. It's just a very practical thing. I wear it to work, I wear it at home, everything. The only thing I'm not sure, but I don't think I have enough yarn to do any kind of facing for inside. So I have this kind of very scratchy zipper material right here. So I will see if I maybe can knit a strip of something and just attach it here, or maybe I will just kind of attach some kind of ribbon here at some point. This is also the last finished garment for the year, so these are all the garments I made. I also did 3 small projects. So I did 2 stuffed kind of toys in December. For like the last handmade project I did for the advent calendar for my boyfriend was a little, oh there it is, was this little guy. This is Hornet from the video game Hollow Knight Silksong, which came out last year. And he loved this game, and yeah, I just randomly saw a free crocheted pattern on Instagram one day, and I thought this was perfect. I had some scraps lying around of just cotton yarn, and I basically crocheted him Hornet and turned it into a bag charm, and he put it on his everyday bag immediately, so that made me very happy. Also, I made a hot water bottle cover for a friend. She loves Moomin, so I really wanted to do something with Moomin for her, and I saw this Moomin double knit scarf. It's a free pattern on Ravelry as well. And just like doing the double knitting and a whole scarf, I wasn't sure if I will ever be able to finish it, so I saw in one of the projects, I saw a girl doing tapestry crochet with this, like a tapestry crochet scarf with the same kind of chart. So I kind of looked into it a little bit, but since I don't think like a crochet scarf is very practical, especially a single crochet scarf, it's kind of very stiff. I'm also quite a tight crocheter. I decided to do something more practical out of it, and something she can use every day, basically, at least in winter. And I made this hot water bottle cover for her, and I really like how this turned out. Yeah. And the other stuffed toy I did, my sister's expecting her first baby. She's my only sister, so it's a very special time. And like even before, I always had this lucky duckling pattern saved in my favorites just because it's so cute. And I knit my sister a sweater like the year prior for her birthday, and it was a yellow sweater, like yellow fluffy sweater, and it was like the perfect color for a little duckling. So I knew I wanted to make this for her I knew I wanted to make a duckling out of the like yarn I had left over, because it was like Christmas time and my sister was expecting. I thought it was just the perfect opportunity. Yeah, so these are all of the major things I finished. I do have a few miscellaneous. I will just quickly run them down. So for the baby sweater I knit this year, I wanted to gift something for the mom as well. So I made her a little scrunchie out of the same yarn, just to be kind of matching with her baby. So yeah, I made this little scrunchie. I also made a scrunchie for myself. I will insert a picture, I guess. I found my very first knit swatch when I kind of restarted to learn how to knit in 2022. So when I asked my mom just kind of show me the basics of it, I made this kind of rectangular little thing, and it was very bad. I lost a few stitches, so there are a few stitches unraveling and everything, but it was kind of very cute, and I also really liked the yarn. It was like this soft, fluffy little purple yarn, which was just, we only had the scrap left, so I couldn't have done anything with it. So I just figured I will put an elastic inside, and I turned it into a scrunchie, and I really kind of does have like this small little sentimental thing attached to it right now. So in summer, after my 2 kind of failed summer knitting garments, I really kind of put my focus to crochet, and I crocheted 3 bags. So I had this random t-shirt yarn lying around from like ages ago, and I crocheted a bag. Like I found this video tutorial on YouTube, for I think that it's a Korean tutorial, and I think it's called the jelly bag. And I made my first bag, and I really liked how it turned out. It was kind of this orangey brown color, so that's definitely not a color I wear. I'm very set on my cool tones, or like neutral to cool tones. So I gifted it to my sister since she likes kind of those tones as well. And then a friend of hers, like her close friend, saw this bag and really liked it, so she kind of wanted to have one as well. So I crocheted a black version for her as well. I also did nice pictures with the black one, so I will insert them here. And after that, my sister actually wanted to have another one, a more neutral brown one, and kind of a little different shape. So I crocheted her a third, I crocheted a third bag, and I also crocheted a little strap to go with it, and I made it for her birthday in August. So yeah, I don't have a picture of that, so I'll see if my sister will be able to send me one. But I really like this, so I bought yarn for my to make myself one, but I bought it in a very like summery color, so that's a project for the summer, I think. Also, these crochet bags take me like 2 hours, 3 hours to do, so they're so quick. I love them. Definitely will be doing this year. And my very last thing that I'm very excited about is I made these tiny crochet letters, which I then kind of attached onto sweaters for like, I did one for my niece, I did one for my nephew, and I did one as an order for a baby shower. And I think it just looks so cute. I will insert pictures of it as well. Yeah, and I actually have like every letter of the alphabet already kind of made. I really want to do kind of this very colorful alphabet spread basically, and yeah, I will see where I go with that project next year. But it was a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time in summer doing that, but at the same time it is quite hard on the hands because it's a very tight gauge. And yeah, but I really like how this turns out, so yeah. This is everything I did in 2025, and it is very dark outside. I'm not even sure if you're able to see me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in my next video. Until then, I wish you all the best and a very great start in the new year. I know it's already like the second week already started, but I still wish you the best 51 weeks that are left. So yeah, thank you. Bye bye.